Ever feel like, how do I put this? Like you're drowning in information, but still, thirsty for something more.
Starving for wisdom.
Exactly. And that's what we're tackling today. We're diving deep, really deep, into Charles F. Haanel's The Master Key.
It's kind of like, if you'll pardon the cliche, a guidebook to unlocking your mind's true potential.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So tell me more about what Haenel's trying to get across in this Master Key.
Well, it's not all just, vague self-help stuff. Haanel gets surprisingly practical, even drawing connections between your thoughts and, believe it or not, your bank account.
Okay, now that got my attention. So we're not just talking about manifesting a parking space here.
Not unless that parking space leads to a better job, which, by the way, is totally within the realm of possibility, according to Haenel. He actually argues that people with what he calls a strong mentality can directly influence those around them. Think of like a CEO who inspires their team to achieve these incredible goals.
So their vision, their confidence, it's almost like it becomes contagious. People buy into it and things start happening.
Precisely. And here's the really fascinating part. Haanel believes that this power isn't exclusive to CEOs or, world leaders. He insists it's within everyone.
Okay, now that's a concept I can get behind. But then he goes on to say our senses can deceive us, right? Like we see the sun rise and set, but it's really the earth moving. So if our senses can be fooled about something like that, what else are we misinterpreting?
That's a great question, and that's precisely the crux of it. Haanel wants us to question what we perceive as reality. He even uses the example of sound. Like, we think a bell makes the sound, but he argues the sound is actually created within our minds. It's our perception of vibrating energy.
Whoa, okay.
Just like light and heat are different frequencies, our senses are really only picking up a tiny fraction of what's actually happening.
Okay, that's pretty mind-bending when you really think about it.
Yeah.
But how do we go from, like, questioning our senses to actually attracting what we want?
It all comes down to understanding what Haenel calls the principle of attraction. He calls it a universal law, and he says it applies to everything. Even, and this is important, even the tough stuff.
Hold on. You mean we attract the bad stuff too? Why would our minds do that?
Well, Haenel says that those challenges, those difficult experiences, they actually hold the key to growth. It's like that saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. It's our ability to learn from those experiences, to extract wisdom and strength from them, that determines our level of happiness.
So it's not about avoiding challenges altogether, but about, learning to ride the waves and come out stronger on the other side.
Exactly. And this is where the mind comes in. Haenel says the mind is the crucial difference between those who achieve success easily and those who struggle. He compares, for example, figures like Alexander the Great, known for his ambition and drive, to business giants like Carnegie, who, as you know, built empires.
Two very different fields, but both achieved massive success. So what's the common thread, according to Haenel?
Their ability to use their minds as a creative force. They imagined their desired outcomes with incredible detail, and their minds, in turn, set the wheels in motion.
It's like having this internal blueprint and then trusting your mind to, I don't know, guide you through the construction process. Wow, that's super inspiring. But how do we get from, reading about this stuff to actually applying it?
Well, Haanel stresses that simply understanding these principles isn't enough. It's like, and I love this analogy, it's like having all the ingredients for a cake, but no oven. You've got the potential, but without the right application, you're left with a bowl of raw ingredients.
So knowledge without action is like a cake that never gets baked.
Got it.
But what does he say about actually harnessing that power, responsibly?
It all starts with recognizing that abundance, true abundance, it isn't something we chase after. It's a natural law we can tap into. One example he uses is, well, just look at nature. Look at how extravagant it is. Look at a rainforest bursting with life, this constant cycle of creation. He's saying that the universe is inherently abundant. We just haven't grasped how to connect to it.
It's like we're at this amazing all-you-can-eat buffet, but we're stuck in line, totally convinced that there won't be enough food left.
Precisely. And Haanel believes that when we begin to truly recognize this law of abundance, it cultivates some incredible qualities in us. Courage, loyalty, a desire to build and create.
So it's less about, getting more and more and more about becoming this conduit for that abundance to flow through us and out into the world.
Exactly. And this leads us to a really crucial concept in Haanel's work, which is the distinction between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Think of them as these two powerhouses within us, each with its own distinct role.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What's the difference?
Your conscious mind is the thinker, the analyzer. It's the part of you that makes decisions and reasons things out. Your subconscious, however, is where things get really, really interesting. It's the realm of instinct, of intuition, of those deep-seated beliefs. Haenel actually calls it the seat of our deepest aspirations, our ideals, the things we truly desire.
So it's like the conscious mind is the architect, carefully drawing up the blueprints, and the subconscious mind is the construction crew, actually making it all a reality.
That's a fantastic analogy. And here's the catch. The subconscious mind, it doesn't argue. Whatever we impress upon it, whatever we consistently seed it, it accepts as truth.
Okay, now that's a little bit terrifying when you put it like that. What happens if we've, accidentally picked up some negative beliefs along the way? Are we stuck with those?
That's where the power of suggestion, of conscious affirmations, comes in. Haenel says we can literally reprogram our subconscious mind by consistently feeding it empowering thoughts.
So if our subconscious mind has gotten used to hearing, I'm not good enough or I'll never be successful, we can retrain it by saying, hey, I am worthy, I am capable.
Exactly. And this brings us to a fascinating concept. Haenel introduces that, well, you might find this totally new and intriguing. He talks about the solar plexus.
Okay, now we're getting into some next level stuff here. What's the solar plexus all about?
Haenel describes it as our internal power center, the bridge between the finite world that we see around us and the infinite potential that lies within each of us. Think of it as the point where life energy actually manifests in the physical body.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, our thoughts, our beliefs can actually impact the flow of energy in our bodies.
Precisely. He says that resistant thoughts, critical thoughts, or fearful thoughts, they actually constrict the solar plexus, limiting our energy, limiting our potential. On the other hand, positive emotions, love, joy, gratitude, these things expand it, allowing that life force to flow freely.
Wow, that's incredible. So if we're constantly stressed or negative, it's like we're literally squeezing the life out of ourselves.
Essentially, yes. And Haenel was very clear that fear is like the biggest enemy of the solar plexus. Eliminating fear, or at least learning to manage it, is absolutely paramount to unlocking our potential.
This is all so fascinating, but it also feels like a lot to process. Is there like a practical way to apply this? I know Haenel mentions visualization. Is that where this all comes together?
You're right on track. Visualization is more than just wishful thinking, according to Haenel. He believes it's a powerful tool for creation. When we create a clear picture in our mind of what we desire, when we really get detailed about it, we're essentially creating the blueprint for its manifestation.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see how this all connects. So it's not just about like seeing it in our mind's eye, it's about feeling it, believing it, knowing it's already ours.
Exactly. Haenel says the only limits to this process are the ones we place upon ourselves.
Okay, that's both incredibly empowering and a little daunting. So we have millions of these brain cells just waiting for us to give them instructions, like tiny mental workers ready to build our dreams.
That's a great way to put it. He believed that when we hold that image in our mind, we focus on the details, we infuse it with emotion, we set this incredible creative process in motion. We're essentially transmitting our desire to the universe, and it responds. It orchestrates circumstances to bring that desire into form.
It's like placing an order with the cosmic chef. And if our order is clear, if it's specific, bam, we get exactly what we asked for.
You could say that. And what's truly mind-blowing is that Haanel actually compares this process to how the universe itself was created. He's suggesting that thought precedes form, even on a cosmic scale.
That is one incredible concept to try to wrap your head around. But it also, it makes sense. Nothing gets built without first existing as an idea, right?
Precisely. And Haanel goes on to emphasize the importance of concentration in this creative process, but he doesn't see it as this strenuous, forced effort. He's talking about a deep immersion, an absorption in the thought, in the idea we're cultivating.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to concentrate. It's about finding that state of flow where we're so engaged with what we're doing that time just seems to disappear.
Exactly. He distinguishes between constructive imagination, which is focused, intentional, and daydreaming, which he sees as, honestly, a form of mental dissipation. He compares it to a camera lens. When our minds are racing, thoughts are scattered, it's like the lens is out of focus, right? But when we bring our attention to a single point, we gain clarity, and with that clarity comes power.
That is a great analogy. So it's about directing that mental energy, not letting it just run wild. Okay, this is all starting to click, but I got to ask, how does this connect to something like, wealth consciousness? We see that term everywhere, but what does it actually mean?
That's a fantastic question, and it brings us to this fascinating concept called the law of vibration.
All right, hit me with it. What's the law of vibration all about, and how does it tie into attracting wealth?
Okay, so in essence, this law states that everything in the universe, your thoughts, your emotions, even physical objects, everything vibrates at a particular frequency. And here's the key. A higher vibration can influence, even control, a lower vibration.
So if positive emotions vibrate at a higher frequency than negative ones, focusing on, say, gratitude or joy can actually help shift us out of those lower vibrational states like fear or despair.
Precisely. Haanel argues this principle affects us both physically and mentally. He even suggests that specific desires, like the desire for wealth, have their own unique vibration.
So there's a specific frequency for wealth, a money consciousness that we can tap into.
Exactly. And he's very clear this isn't about greed or material obsession. It's about understanding the energy of wealth and aligning ourselves with it. He viewed money as an effect, a result of a specific mental state, a vibration we can cultivate.
But if it's all about, vibration and attraction, where does action come in? Do we still need to, like, work for what we want?
Absolutely. Haanel was a huge advocate for taking action. But he believed that action inspired by a clear, aligned mental state is far more powerful than action driven by, force or desperation. He emphasized the importance of service and giving as key aspects of the money consciousness. He believed that the more we focus on adding value to others, the more we open ourselves to receive abundance in return.
So it's not enough to just think about abundance. We have to embody it through our actions, right?
Exactly. It's about aligning our inner world with our outer world. And speaking of aligning, Haanel doesn't shy away from a little tough love in the master key. He actually provides this self-assessment chart, kind of a personal audit of your mental, physical, and creative power.
Oh, yeah. I remember that chart. It's not for the faint of heart, is it?
Not exactly. He asks you to honestly assess things like the value of your mental product, your health, how effectively you're using your time, your ability to concentrate. It's like really digging deep.
It's like he's holding up this mirror and saying, okay, no, really, take a good, hard look. It can be a little uncomfortable, but I can definitely see how it would be valuable.
That's exactly the point.
Yes.
He wasn't trying to make people feel bad. He wanted to help them identify the areas where they might be selling themselves short, where they're limiting their own potential. And here's what I find fascinating. He links this self-assessment directly to your earning potential.
Wait, really? So he's saying that if you consistently undervalue yourself, you're more likely to earn less than you're capable of.
Precisely. He argued that many people with similar skills, similar experience, could be earning significantly more, simply because they understand how to present their mental product with confidence, how to communicate their true value.
So it's about recognizing our own worth and then, kind of projecting that worth out into the world. It's like we're all walking billboards for our own potential.
Exactly. And this goes back to one of Haenel's core beliefs. Our inner world, our thoughts, beliefs, self-perception directly shapes our external reality. So if we're constantly undervaluing ourselves, we're kind of inadvertently broadcasting this message of lack, which can manifest as limited opportunities and, yeah, even financial scarcity.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it reminds me of another area he delves into, health. And he doesn't just give us, generic advice. He really digs deep into the mind-body connection.
Absolutely. He talks about how the body is in this constant state of renewal, cells dying and being replaced all the time. And he argues that true health is about maintaining balance in this process. And mental stress, it can throw that whole delicate balance totally out of whack.
He even suggests that, negative thoughts can create actual waste products in the body, contributing to pain and disease. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Precisely. And he links this to our sleep quality, our ability to relax, our overall vitality. If we're constantly stressed, constantly anxious, it will, without a doubt, take a toll on our physical health.
It's like our bodies are keeping score, and those negative thoughts, man, they rack up the penalty points. He's also, if I'm remembering this correctly, he's also big on time efficiency, but not in the way we usually think about it.
Exactly. He saw time as this incredibly precious resource, and he really wanted people to use it wisely. And he was especially critical of what he called mental dissipation. So that's things like idle gossip, dwelling on negative thoughts, or just allowing our minds to wander aimlessly.
So it's not just about being productive with our time. It's about being really mindful of where our mental energy is going. Like even if we're not actively doing something, quote unquote bad, we're still spending that precious time and energy, time we could be directing towards something meaningful, something more aligned with our goals.
Exactly. He even suggested that people evaluate their downtime. Are we engaging in activities that are truly rejuvenating? Or are we just passively scrolling, letting our minds drift without any real purpose? I think he'd be, honestly, probably horrified by how much time people spend on their phones these
Oh, I
days.
know. It's kind of terrifying to think about. But his point is well taken. It's a good reminder to be more intentional with our time, choose activities that nourish our minds, nourish our bodies, not just numb us out.
Absolutely. And this brings us back to one of the core principles of Hanel's work, this idea of creative power. He believed that this was like the ultimate key to attracting what we want in life.
And he's not just talking about like artistic
Yeah.
ability, right? He's defining creative power as this ability to influence, to inspire action in the world around us.
Precisely. And he argues that this influence doesn't come from, force or manipulation or anything like that, but from understanding and aligning with the law of attraction. It's about becoming a magnet for what we want by, radiating this powerful frequency of desire, confidence, unwavering belief.
So it's less about, convincing people to give us what we want and more about becoming so clear and aligned in ourselves that people are naturally drawn to support our vision.
Exactly. Hanel firmly believed that when we truly understand our own power, when we step into it fully, we don't need to rely on convincing or persuading others. They're drawn to our energy, they're inspired to collaborate, they're inspired to contribute, often without us even having to ask.
That is a really empowering concept.
Yeah.
It's not about forcing our will on the world, but becoming the kind of person, the kind of energy that naturally attracts what we want.
Exactly. And this leads us to another really critical aspect of Hanel's teachings that, well, honestly, might surprise some people. He talks a lot about concentration.
Okay, I gotta admit, when I hear concentration, I kind of cringe a little bit.
Uh,
It makes me think about forcing myself to focus, which just sounds kind of painful. But Haenel had a different take on it, didn't he?
he did. He actually considered concentration to be one of the most important skills for achieving success in any area of life. But he didn't see it as something you force. In fact, he actually encouraged his readers to practice, well, letting go, to relax both mentally and physically.
That seems, I don't know, a little counterintuitive. How can we really concentrate if we're relaxed? Won't we just, like, fall asleep?
That's where the magic happens. Haenel argued that true concentration, the kind that allows us to tap into our full potential, comes from a state of inner stillness. It's about quieting that constant chatter of the conscious mind, all those thoughts swirling around, and accessing a deeper power and focus, which is the subconscious.
So it's not about forcing our minds to be quiet,
Yeah.
but about creating the conditions for that stillness to kind of bubble up naturally. Like when we meditate, we're not trying to force our thoughts to stop. We're just observing them without judgment and allowing that stillness to emerge.
Exactly. And Haanel even compares concentration to focusing a camera lens. When our minds are racing, when our thoughts are scattered, it's like that lens is out of focus, right? Everything is blurry. But when we gently guide our attention to a single point of focus, it's like we're carefully adjusting that lens until, click, everything snaps into sharp, clear focus.
I love that analogy. It makes
Yeah.
so much sense. He also, and I'm thinking back to the book here, he also provides specific exercises for actually developing concentration, right? Like practical things people can do.
He does. He suggests things like finding a quiet space, getting comfortable, closing your eyes if that feels good, and then just gently, and this is key, gently focusing your mind on a single thought, a single object, an image, a word even. And he stresses that consistency is key here. Even practicing for just a few minutes every day can significantly strengthen your ability to concentrate over time.
It's like mental weightlifting. The more we work those concentration muscles, the stronger they become. And he links this directly to our ability to manifest, to attract what we want.
Absolutely. He believed that when we cultivate this ability to concentrate deeply, to hold our attention on a single point, we can impress our desires upon the subconscious mind with much greater clarity and power. And that's what activates that law of attraction we talked about earlier.
So it's not just about, vaguely wishing for things. It's about taking that thought and focusing our mental energy on it with laser-like precision.
Precisely. And this ties into another really important concept that he emphasizes throughout the book. The importance, and this might sound obvious, but it's huge, the importance of directing our thoughts towards what we want rather than what we fear.
Right, because what we focus on expands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Haenel really believed that whatever we give our attention to, whatever we focus on, we empower. So if we're constantly dwelling on our fears or insecurities or the things we don't want to happen, we're essentially, and this is kind of a funny visual, we're essentially fertilizing those seeds, making them more likely to take root in our
Like
lives.
we're accidentally watering the weeds instead of the flowers in our mental gardens.
Exactly. So instead, he encourages us to consciously, intentionally choose thoughts that are aligned with what we desire, even if those desires haven't yet materialized in our physical reality.
It's about shifting our focus from what is to what can be, from a place of lack to a place of pure possibility.
You got it. And a huge part of shifting into that place of possibility, that place of abundance, involves understanding what Heinel calls the money consciousness. It's something I've noticed a lot of people are curious about these days.
It's definitely a hot topic,
Hmm.
but, and I think it's important to reiterate this, Haanel wasn't advocating for greed or materialism or anything like that. He was approaching it from a different perspective, a deeper perspective, you could say.
Absolutely. For Heinel, the money consciousness wasn't about, obsessing over money itself, but about understanding that money is simply a symbol, a representation of energy and value exchange in the physical world.
So it's not about, hoarding wealth or chasing after the next big paycheck. It's about seeing money as a tool, a resource that can be used to create positive change, both in our own lives and in the world around us.
Exactly. He actually emphasized the importance of service and contribution, saying that the more we focus on adding value to others, the more we open ourselves to receiving that abundance in return.
So it's not just about what we can get, but about what we can give, how we can use our unique talents, our skills, our resources to make a real difference in the world.
Precisely. And he really believed that true wealth, lasting wealth, comes not just from acquiring money, but from cultivating this internal state of abundance. This means appreciating what we already have, feeling genuinely grateful for all the good in our lives, and trusting that the universe will provide for our needs.
It's about shifting, and this is a big one, it's about shifting from a scarcity mindset, that I don't have enough mentality, to an abundance mindset, and I am enough, and I have more than enough to share way of being in the world.
Exactly. And this is where we start to see how all of Hanel's teachings are interconnected. It's not just about visualizing what we want or concentrating our thoughts. It's about cultivating this mindset of positivity, gratitude, belief in our own inherent power.
It's about aligning our inner world, our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, with the outer world we want to create. And when we get those things in alignment, magical things can happen.
Precisely. And ultimately, it all comes back to aligning with truth. Hanel believed that truth, with a capital T, is the master key to freedom. It's the ultimate key to dissolving the limitations we often unconsciously place upon ourselves and stepping into a greater experience of our own unlimited potential.
So he's suggesting that the more we understand about our true nature, our connection to this vast universe, the laws that govern this incredible dance of life, the more empowered we become to actually shape our reality.
Precisely. And this is perhaps the most powerful takeaway from the master key, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
We are not victims of circumstance. We are conscious creators of our own reality.
That is a bold statement. But it's also, when you really grasp it, it's incredibly liberating. We have so much more power than we realize.
Exactly. We have this incredible power within us. And he reminds us that this journey of self-discovery, this journey of mastery, it's not a solo mission. He emphasizes the importance of community, of connecting with like-minded individuals, people who support our growth, people who inspire us to reach our full potential. We need those people in our lives, those who cheer us on, who hold space for us to become the best versions of ourselves.
We all need those people in our lives.
Yeah.
Those who cheer us on, who hold space for us to grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is where Hanel's teachings, I think, transcend mere self-help. They become a blueprint for social transformation. He believed that by understanding and applying these universal laws, by working together, we can create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, to live in abundance, to express their highest potential.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity, our interconnectedness, and working together to create a world that truly reflects our highest aspirations.
Exactly. And he reminds us time and time again that this transformation starts within each individual. When we change our thoughts, we change our world. And when enough of us embrace this truth, well, we can collectively shift the consciousness of the entire planet. It's a bold vision, but I believe it's possible.
So it's like this ripple effect, right? Each of us, just by embodying these principles, we contribute to this larger wave of positive change.
Exactly, exactly.
But, and let's be real here for a second, negativity is out there. We can't always, walk around with rose-colored glasses on. We all experience it, even when we're trying our best to stay positive. So how does Haanel suggest we handle those inevitable negative thoughts and emotions, those moments when it feels like, ugh, this is hard?
Well, Haenel actually had a really interesting perspective on negativity. He didn't see it as this enemy to be conquered or, something to be ashamed of. He actually believed that negativity is just a natural part of the human experience.
Okay, so not something to be feared or shamed.
Exactly. His advice wasn't to suppress those feelings or to pretend they don't exist, but rather to become, and I love this phrase, he said, we need to become more like a detached observer of our own internal experience.
So it's more about acknowledging those negative thoughts without, like, getting completely swept away by them.
You got it.
It's like, oh, hello there, fear. I see you.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're not going to run the show today.
Exactly. Haanel believed that we always have a choice. We have a choice in how we respond to those thoughts, those feelings. And instead of, getting bogged down in negativity, he encourages us to gently redirect our focus, gently shift our attention towards something more positive, something we're grateful for, or even just a solution that we can work towards, anything to shift that energy.
That makes perfect sense. Because dwelling on the problem usually doesn't get us very far. But even just shifting our energy to a place of, like you said, appreciation or possibility, it can make a world of difference.
100%. And that's where gratitude comes in. Remember we talked about earlier how it's such a key aspect of cultivating that money consciousness.
Mm.
Well, Heinel saw gratitude as absolutely essential for attracting abundance in all areas of life, not just our finances.
Right, because that's what we focus on expands, right?
Yeah.
If we're constantly focused on what we lack, on what's not working, well, we're kind of just sending this message out to the universe. Give me more of that.
Exactly.
But on the flip side, when we shift our attention, even just a little bit, to what we're grateful for, and I'm talking even the smallest things, a sunny day, a good cup of coffee, a kind word from a stranger, it shifts our energy.
And it opens us up to receive more of that good stuff.
Exactly.
Heinel saw gratitude as more than just, a nice feeling. He saw it as this powerful vibration, this
Yeah.
high frequency energy that literally like draws more goodness into our experience. And along with gratitude, he also emphasized the importance of something that honestly can be a little more challenging: forgiveness.
Ooh, yeah, forgiveness. Not always easy.
Definitely not. And not just forgiving others, which is hard enough as it is, but also, and this is a big one, forgiving ourselves for past mistakes, past regrets, all the things we tend to beat ourselves up about.
Oh man, that inner critic. That can be the hardest voice to quiet down sometimes.
Tell me about it. But Hanel believed, and I think he's really onto something here, that anytime we're holding on to resentment, anger, whether it's directed at ourselves or at someone else, it just creates more negativity. It blocks the flow of abundance from coming in. He saw forgiveness as this incredible act of self-love, a way of releasing the past and stepping fully into a more empowered present.
It's like choosing to unpack our bags and stay in this like dark, dingy hotel room when there's this bright, spacious suite just waiting for us a few doors down.
That is a brilliant analogy. I love it. And speaking of, accessing new rooms, new possibilities, Hanel was also a huge believer in the power of intuition, that gut feeling, that inner wisdom we all have access to, but often ignore.
That aha moment that seems to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
How does that fit into his teachings?
Well, Hanel considered intuition to be this incredibly powerful inner guidance system, a way of tapping into this well of wisdom that's often just below the surface of our conscious awareness. And he really believed that everyone, every single one of us, has this intuitive capacity within us. But, he said, it's like any other skill, like a muscle. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be exercised to grow stronger.
So how do we cultivate that intuition? Do we just like sit around and try to think really, really hard?
That would be our conscious minds trying to muscle their way in, which ironically is the opposite of what we want when it comes to intuition. He actually recommended practices like meditation, even just sitting quietly in nature, really being present with the sights and sounds, as ways to quiet the mind, to quiet all that mental chatter and allow that subtler, that more intuitive voice to emerge.
It's like our intuition is this shy animal. If we go crashing through the forest, making all kinds of noise, it's going to hide. If we create this calm, inviting space, it's more likely to come out and say hello.
100%.
Hmm.
He believed that intuition, when nurtured, can be this incredible tool, this guiding compass for navigating life's twists and turns. It can help us make decisions that are truly aligned with our highest good and help us stay connected to what we're here to do, our unique purpose.
So often we look outside ourselves for answers, for validation, for directions. But Haenel was really reminding us that we have this incredible internal compass. It's always there. We just need to learn to trust it.
Beautifully put. And, that's really the essence of what Haenel is trying to convey in the Master Key. He's reminding us that we are not lacking anything. We're not broken. We already possess every single thing we need, all the tools, all the wisdom, all the power within us.
It's about recognizing that inherent power, that connection to something so much greater than ourselves, and then aligning our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, everything with that power.
Exactly. It's about, as we've been saying, aligning the inner and outer world. It's about stepping into our power as conscious creators, understanding that we're not just passengers on this journey.
Yeah.
We actually have a say in where we go, in what we create, and honestly, how much we enjoy the ride.
This has been, wow, it has been an incredible deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom, so much to think about, so much to put into practice. If someone is listening to this, and I hope they are, and they're feeling inspired, what would you say is like the most important thing for them to remember from Handel's work? What's the biggest takeaway?
If I could sum it all up in one sentence, it would be this. You are not a victim of circumstance, my friend. You are a powerful creator, fully capable of manifesting your deepest desires. And it all starts with a single thought, a belief, a choice.
Beautifully said. It's about taking responsibility, really owning our power, stepping into the driver's seat of our own lives. And then, maybe the most exciting part, getting to watch as the universe conspires with us, orchestrating people, resources, opportunities to help make those dreams a reality.
100%. And I'd also add, and this is important, don't get discouraged if things don't happen overnight. This journey of self-discovery, of creation, it's a lifelong adventure. There will be ups and downs. There will be moments of doubt, moments where we feel like we're moving backwards.
We're human. It happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you can remember those core principles Hannah lays out, if you can keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep believing in yourself and in the power of the universe to support you,
Magical things happen.
magical things happen.
That is the perfect note to end on. So, to everyone listening, remember, that power to create the life you desire, it really is within you. It always has been. So keep exploring, keep believing, keep unlocking your own unique potential. Until next time, keep those thoughts positive, keep those vibrations high, and keep those dreams alive.
Beautifully said.